Hi, Tyro Man. I'm at Northeast Comic Con and I'm talking to Matt, Captain Jack. How you
Captain
doing?
Jack, how are you, mate? Good to see you.
Good to see you. So, what is the organization you guys are with here? What's the pirate?
So our group is called the Rogues Armada. We do children's parties and events. Our website is getcaptainjack.com. I almost forgot my own website, but it's getcaptainjack.com or roguesarmada.com. We're here today raising money for the Jimmy Fund of the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute.
Oh, very good, very good. How's the day been going so far?
It's been going wonderfully. Sort of an interesting room because we've got comedians playing and puppets which are sort of creeping me out in the corner. But we do get to have celebrities come through, and then we get to see other costumed figures come through, and we get to lock them all up in our prison.
Ah,
It's always a good day when you can lock up strangers.
yes, yes. Very good. Now, how did the group get started? Was this your group or the...
This is a group that I started, but we have a lot of people who are pirate performers in the area. And forgive me if I'm talking away from the microphone, I'm not used to these things. But I said, you know what, we need to put together an actual crew, otherwise the ship's going nowhere. So I did, I put out the word, we got a lot of pirates, and now we go for the conventions, and as I said, children's parties, entertainment at corporate functions, either for pay or for charity. Depends on what the venue's looking for.
Now, how long did it take you to put this costume together?
Years, and it's still, and there's always new pieces coming on every time.
Tweaking.
There's always something, yeah. Especially because after a while they just fall apart. The pieces you have just disintegrate and rot and fall off. So you're always building something.
So, how many people have roughly in the crew now? With this?
It varies. I mean, associated with other groups, we've got somewhere in the vicinity of 50 or 60 pirates from all over New England. The Rogues Armada has members in Kansas and Texas and other places that end in S, and in Mexico and even in Europe. So we're really sort of becoming a global pirate community.
Awesome.
I like your mask, by the way. Where did you get that from?
Party City.
Party City. All right. It looks like something you wear if you have insomnia,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's just okay. It's for a superhero costume. It's wonderful.
Yes. Okay. Anything else you want to share with the audience? Or?
Well, we are here at Northeast Comic Con. It's the NE. I just learned how to read last week, but we are at the Northeast Comic Con for the Aleppo Shriners, which is not, even though it sounds like some sort of malady, it's actually a wonderful organization. So if you want to come down for one more day, we're here on Sunday. Make sure you come down and see us.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tyro Man, Northeast Comic Con, and I'm talking with Jeff Klein. How you doing, Jeff?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. So tell us a little about the comic book series you have coming out right now.
So the name of the company is Darby Pop Publishing. Darby is my daughter's name. And she actually, from the time she came out of the womb, she's been drawing. So she was a bit of the inspiration for the comic books. I've worked almost exclusively in movies and television for the last 25 years. But I have a lot of friends who work in animation, especially from, I've done a lot of animated series, who've either worked in comics or wanted to work in comics. So I kind of had the idea a few years ago, what if we all worked together and actually made comic books? So a lot of these books are either created by or drawn by or written by guys who really come out of television and movies, who've just been dying to work in comic books.
Cool. So what is this is this the main title?
There's actually 5, we've dropped 5 titles so far.
Okay.
Indestructible is the one I created and wrote. We're up to issue 10 on that one. It's basically, in a world where superheroes are real, it stands to reason that they be treated like celebrities, right? What if someone mistook you for a superhero? You didn't actually have any superpowers. You got to live the life and decided you liked it. How far would you go to keep the lifestyle and not get yourself killed? Because you can't actually have any. So that's Indestructible. We have a book called City, which is a techno thriller set in San Francisco, which has since become a bit of reality since we published it. A computer programmer designs a program that can tie together all the different security cameras in San Francisco, but the computer can't tell the difference between real crime and play crime. So against his will, he's sort of merged with the machine and becomes the eyes of the city. That's written by Eric Garcia, who wrote Matchstick Men and Repo Men, the movies. Doberman, which is a great book, we're up to issue 5 on that one. Created and written by the guys who write It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's basically 80s Stallone type cop in today's LAPD. So that's a comedy book. We have a book called The Seventh Sword, which the first arc is 7 issues, written by John Raffa, who wrote Dragon, the Bruce Lee movie, and that's basically a samurai versus robots in space. And then we have Dead Squad, written by Fetterman Sky, who are big feature writers, big action feature writers. And that's 3 special ops guys are murdered while trying to retrieve a package. They're reanimated for 24 hours to track down their killer to get the package they were supposed to get in the first place. While they were dead, 2 of the 3 of them experienced the afterlife, and they don't want to go back there. How can they change that in 24 hours as well? Especially when they may have to kill people to actually accomplish their goal. So those are the 5 we dropped so far, and there'll be more coming very soon.
Now, you said you started in animation and TV. Can you tell us a little about how you got your start? What was your first job?
Well, I started actually in live action television. So my very first TV job in Los Angeles was in daytime on soap operas, on a show called Santa Barbara, actually. And then I moved to, on the executive side, I moved to Columbia, back when it was still Columbia Television, before it became Sony. And then about 17 years ago, partnered with a guy named Frank Lupo, who had co-created Wise Guy and A-Team and Stingray. And he took me under his wing as a protege to learn to write and produce for television, which was amazing, as you can imagine. And I had mostly done live action, and then about 15 years ago, Sony came to me with Jumanji and asked me if I'd maybe consider doing it as a kids series. That was almost 20 animated series ago. So I still go back and forth, but honestly, I love doing the animation.
What animated shows stick out that you've worked on?
Well, the most recent ones I've done, I've got a Transformers Robots in Disguise airing right now in cartoon. Transformers Rescue Bots Season 4 is on the Hub. I did Transformers Prime, which was the all-CG one that ran for 3 years. A G.I. Joe series a few years back. I did Jackie Chan Adventures for 5 years. Dragon Tales did 4, 5, 6 years on PBS. A Men in Black series, Godzilla. I'm the guy you tend to call when you have a big brand to do the animated series.
So you're the writer behind that, or animator?
I'm actually usually the executive producer, so I'm lining up everybody. I'm often either alone or in tandem with another writer. We're kind of creating the core concepts, adapting it to TV. And then, I'm the guy who's hiring everybody, overseeing everything. Every decision ultimately has to stop with me. And when you're working in animation and television, at least, I'm also the guy stuck in the middle of the toy company and the network and the studio as they maybe disagree on things.
What is the toughest part of that type of a job?
I think that part of it is that. Part of it personalized, but also when you take on a brand like Transformers, which is 30 years of history and a very, very rabid fan base, there's also a little bit of you don't want to screw it up. So there's a little bit of that pressure. You're never going to make everybody happy, so you have to try to make yourself happy in some way. But you want to try to not infuriate as many people as possible.
Now, do you go to a lot of conventions?
I've only ever done conventions as a fan for the most part. I've gone over for many, many years as a fan and a little bit to plug a TV show or two. The publishing company is about 2 years old. I think this is only the second con I've ever done on the East Coast to push the comic books. But it's interesting being on the other side of the table because usually I'm the guy walking up to somebody saying, will you sign this or what is this about? It's a lot harder on this side of the table, I have to tell you.
So do you think you'll have more conventions coming up?
I got it. Yeah, you know what? This is a great. My daughter, actually, the Darby of Darby Pop, is over there. You can't see her. You want to come right over here? Come on around. So actually, what we've discovered is this is a great time for she and I to give my wife a weekend off, and we'll come to a con, and she'll work it with me because she's great at it. So honestly, yeah, I think I will because it's a great time for us to hang out together.
Now, do you have some websites if people want to follow?
We do,
your work?
please. Darby Pop, so DARBYPOP. All one word.com. We're also on all your favorite Facebook and Instagram, and so if you look up Darby Pop in any of those, if you check out one of our books, we have email addresses. Write us, tell us. We love to hear from people.
So you're open to submissions?
We're actually on the website. We have a submission policy. So yes, the next book we're going to release actually is something that was submitted to us. So and one of the books we have a book called Indestructible, and actually this is a book that just came out called Stingray, which is a character from Indestructible. This is a one-shot, but this was actually a contest we ran. It was a writing contest. So for somebody who wanted to break into comics, we said, write a script. It has to be a full script. You got 30 days from the time we started the contest. And if we pick your script, we will publish it, and we'll actually give you $500 as well. And I thought we'd get maybe a dozen people, because it's a lot of work to write a full script based on a character who is a secondary character in an existing book. And we got over 200 submissions from around the world. And Jeff Marzik won, and he did a great job. And he's actually now going to write a different book for us.
Awesome.
So it's worked out really well for us.
All right, great. Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to tell?
Just, you know what, for those of you who sort of haven't done a con, this is actually a pretty interesting one. It's a real mix of toys and comics and other pop culture stuff. But in general, they've got a lot of kids stuff going on at this one. It's a great place on a Saturday or Sunday. Take your kids. For kids, it's a great entry into reading. And there's from the time we were kids, there were a lot of different kinds of comic books. Now there's hundreds more. Any genre, any age, anything you think of, there's a book. So it's a good time to be a fan.
Yeah, and they'll be back here in December.
That's what Gary's saying. Yeah.
7th, I think, is the date. So you can come back.
And there's chances are there's a con somewhere near you sometime during a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Tyro Man at Northeast Comic Con, and I'm talking to Vivek Tiwar.
Perfect. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. So you wrote the book about Brian Epstein,
Correct.
The Fifth Thing.
Yeah, I'm the author of The Fifth Beatle. It's a graphic novel and a forthcoming feature film based on the life of Brian Epstein, who is the gentleman that discovered the Beatles when they were an unprofessional, obscure Liverpool act, guided them to unprecedented international stardom, and also did that while facing a lot of personal demons. He was gay at a time where it was against the law. He was Jewish at a time of pervasive anti-Semitism. And Liverpool, where he was based and operated, was a town that prior to the Beatles had no cultural influence. So it is an amazing behind-the-scenes Beatles story, but it's also an amazing human story about the ultimate underdog who chased an impossible dream.
So you interviewed him and talked with him?
Well, Brian died in 1967, which is another amazing part of the story, is that he dies at the age of 32 from an accidental overdose of prescription pills. And he was very lonely. He was very depressed at the end of his life. And here's a guy that dedicated his life to helping the Beatles spread their message of love around the globe. And yet he dies at the age of 32, never having had a proper boyfriend. So even though I find the story very triumphant and very inspiring, it also has a very tragic ending. And I was born too late. I was born in '73, so I never got a chance to actually meet Brian. But I've always said that I've described Brian as my historical mentor. Somebody who, even though I never got to meet, I've studied his life meticulously, and I've tried to learn both what to do and what not to do. I've made him my mentor from history, and so it's a real passion project for me, The Fifth Beatle.
So how did you do all the research? Like, where did you go to get information on?
So I started this research in 1991. I was a student at the Wharton School of Business. I was dreaming about a life in the arts and entertainment industries, and I wasn't getting much of that from my classes. In 1991, Wharton didn't really have a lot of resources for young people who wanted to pursue the arts. So I had to do that on my own. So in '91, there's no Wikipedia, there's no YouTube, there's no Google. There's none of the online resources that we so take for granted today. And currently, The Fifth Beatle is the only book in print about Brian Epstein. There's another book that's been out of print for many years that you can find now easily on used book websites. But in 1991, there were no used book websites. So I really had no choice but to do interviews. So I literally read every respected Beatles book I could find. And I would read these 300-page books about the Beatles. I'd get 10 or 15 decent pages about Brian. But I slowly, from that, got a sense of who were the people that knew him best. And then I literally just pulled a phone book off the wall, and I cold called these people. And I just said, I'm a young person who's interested in learning more about Brian Epstein, and will you talk to me? And not one of them turned me down.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's people like Sid Bernstein, the legendary concert promoter who brought the Beatles over to the United States. He's a New Yorker, so I'm from New York, so I was able to call him up and just go over to his house and meet with him. Nat Weiss, who was the band's U.S. attorney and Brian Epstein's best friend and closest confidant, also a New Yorker, so I was able to spend a lot of time with Nat, and Nat was at my wedding with my wife, and these people slowly over the years also became my friends.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's the most rewarding part of the whole journey?
The most rewarding part of the journey is seeing the book being done and seeing people be inspired by Brian's story the way that I was. I I mentioned earlier, Brian was gay and Jewish and from Liverpool, and this made him this ultimate outsider, an outcast. That's the best word for it, as you said, an outcast. He's a gay Jewish kid running around a dirty port town in the north of the UK saying, I found a local band who are going to be bigger than Elvis, who are going to elevate pop music into an art form. They laughed at him. And for me, I never had obstacles like that in my life, but as a young kid of Indian origin, growing up in New York's Lower East Side, dreaming about writing comic books and producing Broadway musicals, which is something else I do, I could relate to that. Because people of my background were supposed to become doctors or engineers, and I wanted to write comic books, So Brian Epstein, the message of the Brian Epstein story, I always say, is that no dream is too impossible, and no person too unlikely to realize that dream. And that's the story that I got from Brian. That Brian's story inspired me to chase my dreams. And when I meet people who've read this book and who've gotten that message out of it, that is incredibly inspiring. I went to India Comic-Con last year. I was invited to be one of their guests of honor, and for me, as being of Indian origin, it was a particularly emotional trip. And to be able to tell that story to young Indian kids, and to have Indian kids come up to me afterwards and say, I know what you went through. I went through the exact same thing, and because of your book and learning the Brian Epstein story, I'm going to continue to pursue my dream of being a musician, being an artist, being a writer. That was the most rewarding thing. That was the most rewarding thing.
Nice.
Thanks.
So what advice would you give someone who's trying to get into writing?
It's kind of what we were just saying. I would encourage you to believe that no dream that you have is too impossible, and no person too unlikely to realize that dream. Don't listen to anyone who tells you you can't do it, or that this story sounds silly, or that people like you aren't qualified to write that. Just do it. And one of the wonderful things about writing is you can just pick up your pen and write, or your computer, and just sit down and get the draft out. Even if you think the first draft stinks, just do it. And then you can always go back and change it. That's what saving multiple drafts is for. So I would encourage any young writer to just believe in your story, believe in your dreams, and just sit down in front of your computer and start writing. If you're a comic book writer, get your hands on a bunch of comic scripts. If you're a screenwriter, get your hands on film scripts. It's not hard. On Amazon, you can buy this stuff and read what other people have done as a template, and just start writing. So.
Now, was it a play? Movie?
So we're turning it into a film. Yep, the book has been out for a little while. It's doing really well. It became a New York Times bestseller and won the Eisner Award and Harvey Award. The book's done amazing and is out in a number of foreign countries. And so now we're firmly squaring our attention on the film. Very excited that a few weeks ago we announced that we've secured our financing. An independent film financing studio called I Am Global is producing it. Simon Cowell has come on board as a co-producer.
Nice.
Very excited about that. Thank you. And we've secured access to Beatles music. So the band has approved the project, allowed us to do a deal with Sony ATV, who control the Lennon-McCartney music publishing. So we have access to Beatles music. We are the first film about the band in history to have secured access to their music. So I'm very, very proud of that. And we are out to directors right now, and I would please encourage anyone who's interested to follow us on Facebook at The Fifth Beatle, or on Twitter at Fifth Beatle, or through our website at fifthbeatle.com, because in the next few months I think we're going to be announcing our director and our cast, and we're on track to shoot next year, so it's a very, very exciting time for us.
What's the dream cast? Who do you see as
I do have some ideas, but I can't tell you. I got to keep that close to the chest. I'm sorry. We're in conversations.
Wanted the scoop.
I can't give you the scoop. We're in conversations with some very exciting people, and I just don't want to blow it or jinx it by talking about it too soon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
More conventions coming up? Are you guys?
Yeah, if you go to fifthbeatle.com, we have an appearance tab on the website where we list all the conventions that we're going to. We're still figuring out exactly which ones we're doing it. And to be honest, this year I'm trying to do my conferences surrounding film news. So when I have something new that I can announce and talk about, that's when I hope to be able to be doing my convention appearances. We just announced our financing, which is why I'm happy to be here to talk about it. But I don't want to just show up with nothing new to say. So yeah, just keep your eyes on our appearance page at fifthbeatle.com, and you'll know which other ones we're going to be at.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show.
Yeah. Good luck with the movie.
Thank you very
We'll have
much.
to see it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, a song about never saying never and never being told what you can or cannot do. This is one of us. A 1, 2, 3. For when fighting got to me, I looked to find examples on the field of chivalry, and I saw mighty arms, much stronger than my arms could ever be. So I thought perhaps that field was not for me. But still I stayed and watched the fighting till one figure stood apart, in armor newly fashioned and a helm more pot than art. But each blow was thrown with honor and the lightness of the heart. So I took that step which soon became a start. 'Cause she was not the biggest fighter, nor one to raise a fuss, but I remember being proud that she was one of us. And we might never stand together in a shield wall side by side. Because of her I lift my sword with pride. She was ladylike and lively, not the type you would expect, with a braver heart than many and a slot shot to respect. And I guess she'd once decided this was where she'd like to be, and I thought if she could do it, why not me? 'Cause she was not the biggest fighter,